The table was already crowded with plates when it happened. Too much food, too much noise. The kind of dinner that looks generous from the outside, but feels transactional once you're inside it. I was halfway through chewing when Dad's fist hit the wood hard enough to rattle the glasses. "You're the most selfish one here." The sentence didn't surprise me. The timing did. It arrived between bites, like an interruption meant to remind everyone who held the floor. Mom didn't wait for a response. "She never does. You only think about yourself," she said, nodding once, as if sealing the verdict. There it was. The familiar shape of it. Years of being the one who covered gaps, rides, bills, late-night fixes, compressed into a single word that made it all look ugly. Selfish, simple, useful. I looked at my brother. He stared at his plate, the golden child in practiced stillness. Silence had always worked for him. It was rewarded. I didn't argue. I didn't apologize. I put my napkin on the table, stood up, and walked out. No door slam, no speech. Just the sound of my chair legs scraping once, briefly, like punctuation. The drive home felt unreal in the way calm sometimes does after something breaks. I kept waiting for the adrenaline to spike, for the anger to finally arrive and make sense of everything. It didn't. What came instead was an inventory. At home, I sat on the edge of my bed and thought about the things I handled that no one ever named as work. The power bill in my name because my parents forgot to switch it back after a move. The internet account I set up because I was better with computers. The auto payments I'd been running for years because it was easier than reminding them. None of it had ever been framed as help. It was just expected, like breathing me. For a few days, nothing happened. No calls. No texts. The silence told me everything I needed to know. My absence was emotional, not functional. They could ignore one. They always had. I wrestled with the idea of disengaging. Part of me worried it would prove them right. If I stepped back, wouldn't that look selfish? I sat with that thought longer than I should have. Then I asked myself a quieter question. What has staying proved? The answer was immediate and unsatisfying. Nothing. So I started small and slow, the way you do when you're dismantling something that's been mislabeled as love. I called the utility company and transferred the account. I sent notices. I followed procedures. I documented everything. There was no rush in it, no thrill. Just a steady sense of setting things where they belonged. 3 weeks passed. I noticed the difference in my own space first. Mornings were quieter. Evenings felt longer. I slept better. Guilt hovered, but it didn't own the room anymore. Then my phone buzzed. "Why's the power off?" My brother texted. I stared at the screen for a long moment. The question wasn't accusatory yet. Just confused. Like a child discovering a light switch doesn't work unless someone's been paying attention. I typed, erased, typed again. Then sent the truth, stripped of commentary. "Guess I finally listened to you." The typing bubbles appeared almost instantly. Disappeared. Reappeared. Calls followed. Missed at first, then voicemail. My father's voice tight and annoyed, asking what I'd done. My mother's, sharper, asking why I would embarrass them like this. I didn't respond right away. Not because I wanted them to suffer, but because I was done translating my choices into something they could accept. By the next day, the situation had moved past family dynamics and into logistics. The utility company explained things plainly. Accounts had changed, rent statement would take time. Fees applied. Procedures were procedures. Authority has a way of flattening drama. There's comfort in that. Inside the family, things cracked differently. My brother was suddenly loud, angry about inconvenience. My parents blamed each other for letting things slide. No one mentioned the dinner. No one revisited the words that started it. When I finally spoke to my father, days later, it was brief. "You could have told us," he said. "I was told." I replied. He didn't ask what I meant. He knew. Knowing and admitting are different skills. They got the power back on eventually. Things resumed, mostly. But something fundamental had shifted. Requests came with hesitation now. Conversations felt cautious, like stepping around a hole in the floor. No one wanted to patch. My brother stopped texting unless he needed something, then stopped altogether when I didn't fill the gaps the way I used to. My mother tried to soften, to joke her way back into familiarity. It didn't quite land. I won't pretend it felt good watching them struggle, even briefly. It didn't. What it felt like was distance, clean, uncomfortable distance that made room for me to stand without bracing. Sometimes I think about that word, selfish. How easily it's used to describe anyone who stops bleeding quietly. How often it's assigned to the person holding everything together when they finally set it down. I didn't win anything. There was no applause, no apology that rewrote the past. What I gained was smaller and heavier than that. I gained the ability to leave a table without explaining myself, and the knowledge that when the lights go out, it matters who's been keeping them on. Not because they owe it, but because they chose to.